ASU has a huge game tomorrow against BYU, and Sam Leavitt is ready to have a career day to get the Sun Devils a win.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers place a $5 bet. If it wins, you're going to get started with $150 in bonus bets. Again, $5 bet, it wins, $150 in bonus bets. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in to Locked On Sun Devils, and it is, of course, the game day preview. Number 21 ASU hosting number 14 BYU tomorrow. Senior day, homecoming, last home game of the year. Winner not necessarily punches their ticket, but is one step closer and definitively closer to going to the Big 12 Conference Championship game. Just like we all predicted in the preseason. Look at who's left. The four teams that are still competing. ASU was picked to finish last. BYU picked to finish 14th, I think. Colorado was picked 13 or something like that. Iowa State, they were closer to the middle. Those are your four teams. I'll tell you who's not there. Oklahoma State, Kansas State, all of them. Here we are with the teams that nobody thought. And it's been possible because of the players who have stepped up for their teams. When we look at Arizona State, been a lot of good players. We all talk about Cam Skattebo, but you know who we need to talk more about? Sam Leavitt. Sam Leavitt, he has become a dynamite quarterback over the last 3 weeks. He's playing as well as any quarterback in the Big 12 right now. 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, about 64 to 65% completion. He's dominating. No one can stop him. Teams at the beginning of the year, they used to say, yeah, we're going to slow down Cam Skattebo and we're going to have you beat us with your arm. You can't do that anymore because Sam Leavitt will beat you with his arm. It's almost the opposite now. You want to take away the passing game and say, all right, we're going to have Skattebo be the one to beat us. I don't see a good sign either way. BYU, I don't know what their plan is, but they better come up with a good one because ASU is going to come out ready to punch them in the mouth in this game. It's a big reason why I think they're going to get the win. We, of course, will talk about the win, plus some bold predictions at the end of the show. We will also highlight some players to watch. But right now, we got to talk about the offense and the defense and what to expect for ASU. Our conversation starts with Sam Leavitt, the one and only QB1, Sam Leavitt. Leavitt is on another level right now, man. I would love to see his numbers against some of the other best quarterbacks in the country over the last 3 weeks. Seriously, it's got to be super, super comparable. These are numbers that you see from Heisman quarterbacks over the length of the season. I'm not saying Leavitt's a Heisman contender. I'm not saying that he's worthy of that kind of level just yet, I suppose. But the way he's playing the last 3 weeks, typically, if you do it over the length of the season, people are going to be like, we should keep an eye on him to maybe send him to New York. That's what Leavitt's doing right now. And, God, he can just throw the football anywhere. He's hitting the deep ball, which at one point in time, I said, you know what? It's not there. Don't worry about it. Leavitt said, I took that personally. And he continued to work on his deep ball, and now it's great. Him and Jordyn Tyson are electric together. We'll talk about Tyson a little more later on in the show. You've got everything going for you right now with the passing game. You're doing it with really Jordyn Tyson, Shimon Mateer occasionally. That's about it. Leavitt is I still stand firm that I want to see him find more connections with other guys. But until someone stops him, I mean, why not? It's kind of like last year for U of A. You had a really good thing going with Noah Fafita and Tedero McMillan, and Jacob Cowling was still very much an option there. But it was at a point where it's like, well, why would I change this up when Fafita to McMillan has been so good? Well, that's where you're at right now with ASU. Like, sure, you would like to see X-Guillory get more involved, or Melkon Stovall, or Troy O'Mary, or anyone like that. But until someone finds a way to slow down Jordyn Tyson, why change what's working? And Mateer's been good, and they've got it figured out right now. But yeah, Sam Leavitt, I think the biggest question we have right now, can he win games by himself? Well, that's the way it's looking these last 3 games. Against UCF, I would tell you that was the biggest example of I can win this by myself. He didn't have Cam Skattebo in that game, and it didn't stop him from throwing. I can't remember if that was one of his 300-yard performances. I'm going to pull it up while we continue to talk. But he had a 3-touchdown game. He was able to keep ASU afloat in what ended up turning into a shootout. He was flawless in the game. He's that he had 161 yards that game. Very passive. It wasn't a huge day all around, like numbers wise, but I mean, he was great. He's doing everything you need for him to do right now. Last week against K-State, he had all 3 of ASU's touchdowns, all 3 in the first half. I would say that that's finding a way to win with him, especially when Skattebo was beat up and he did not get into the end zone. Yeah, Sam Leavitt won that game for you. Sam Leavitt won against UCF. I don't see any reason he can't beat BYU by himself. The good news is he does have Skattebo again. And Skattebo, you're hoping is back to pretty close to 100%. I don't think he was quite there last week. I'm not worried about it. ASU still has no problem making him a high-volume kind of player for them. They are still going to spoon-feed him the ball. They are still going to have him essentially be the focal point of the offense. And why wouldn't you when Skattebo has had legitimate Heisman numbers this year? Talk about guys that have a Heisman case. If Skattebo did not miss the game against UCF, he's got a really good case to at least be in the conversation for the Heisman, and certainly be in the conversation for the Doak Walker Award, which he is a semifinalist for. Last week, he still had 29 touches. That the touches aren't going away for him. It's just a matter of, can the efficiency come back? And there's a good chance. BYU's defense is fine. It's not elite. It's fine. This should be a game that ASU can beat up BYU. In theory, we will wait and see. But Skattebo, he's going to get the touches, easily 20 touches, probably 20 carries by himself. Will the not the explosiveness, the efficiency with the carries come back, or is he just going to turn into like a beat 'em up guy and find his way into the end zone? We'll wait and see. Defensively, there's really only one thing I want to highlight here on defense. If you look at BYU, they are getting a lot of good play across the board, especially from is it Retzlaff? I believe is how you say it. Jake Retzlaff. He has been more than quality this year as their quarterback. 58.6% completion, 7.9 yards per attempt, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He's also run for 312 yards, 4 touchdowns. He is good. He is a very good quarterback. After that, it's like you don't really see any like superstars on this team, but there's a lot of guys who do a lot of good things for you. They've got 2 running backs with LJ Martin, who has 501 yards on the year, leading the team, and Hinckley Rapati, who is second on the team with 357 rushing yards. As a team, they've ran for over 1,600 yards, but your leading rusher only has 501. Like, they're just distributing the ball very well. Look at the passing game. They still have over 2,300 yards. Your leading receiver has 659, and your second leading receiver has just under 600. So Chase Roberts, receiver number 1, he is 6'4", for what it's worth. Darius Lassiter is receiver number 2, and everything else is just distributed very equally. So they've got a really good thing going. It's just, you look at ASU and you're like, oh yeah, Cam Skattebo, one of the best in the Big 12. Jordyn Tyson, one of the best in the Big 12. Shimon Mateer, one of the most underrated in the Big 12. You look at BYU and it's like, there's a lot of really good contributors here, which is a very good thing. This is not a bad thing. It just means that you could spread the ball out. You cannot key in on one specific player if you are the ASU defense. It's not like you can look at Chase Roberts, their number one receiver, and go, we're going to take you out of the game, because then right after that, they're going to get Lassiter involved. They're going to get Marion involved. They're going to get Kingston involved. They've got guys that are going to be able to do stuff for them. You can say we're going to take away Retzlaff's ability to be a runner, but you got Martin and you got Rapati to be able to pick up the slack there. So sure, BYU doesn't have some high pedigree superstar. They don't need it because they've got so many different guys that do so many different things, and it adds up. And that's one of the reasons they're winning football games right now. They don't need a Jordyn Tyson. They don't need a Tetero McMillan. They don't need who are some of the other stars? Travis Hunter at wide receiver. They don't need Taj Brooks. They're getting it done with quality, more than quality football players. So bringing it back to ASU, what's your plan? You can't single in on one guy. The best you can do is single in on Retzlaff. And that's easier said than done for a quarterback who's just really good at improvising. It's not impossible. He's been prone to some turnovers recently. He does have 8 interceptions, but he's still, and I wouldn't call him a gunslinger necessarily either, but he does have that capacity to be able to throw himself into these games. So I'm just curious, from a defensive standpoint, what's your plan? There's not someone to spotlight, but there's a lot of guys that you need to pay attention to where they are on the field at all times, or else you're going to get swamped. That's really my only question for the defense. What is your plan there? Now, coming up next on the show, we're going to talk about some players to watch. We'll talk about Sam Leavitt, 2 other players on offense, and 2 other players on defense. Coming up next, this is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me talk to you about our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, if you have not heard, is the best daily fantasy app out there. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars awarded in winning. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports accessible to all. It's really easy. More or less on any kind of predictions for at least 2 players. You match it. More or less on yards, on catches, whatever it might be. You can win up to 100 times your catch and run your game all season long with Prize Picks. Like I said, it's really easy. Let's take an example. I don't know, Justin Jefferson, the Minnesota Vikings receiver. Is he going to have more or less than 82.5 receiving yards next week? How about Lamar Jackson? Is he going to have more or less than 1.5 passing touchdowns? These are the kind of props that you're looking for. And we're able to get it in 30 different states. This includes California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. It's the best place to get real money on sports action. There's over 10 million users. You can sign up today and become a part of them. PrizePicks also offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. You can sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to get that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So here's the deal. I want you to go and download the PrizePicks app today. Whether that's your App Store or your Google Store, whatever. You're going to download it. You're going to use this promo code LOCKEDONCollege. You're going to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. And again, that lineup can be 2 players or it can be more. With PrizePicks, you run your game, you have some fun. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Let me also talk to you about our friends over at Home Field. Ladies and gentlemen, Home Field's the best. If you are looking for comfortable, officially licensed apparel that also goes with all sorts of vintage designs, this is your place. They are based out of Indianapolis. And guess what? It's made by the college football fan for the college football fan. They have over 180 schools and counting. So it's not just my ASU fans. BYU, if you're tuning in, they're going to have your stuff too. If anyone else is tuning in, whoever it is, check it out. They probably have your school. Home Field has a ton of different options for you. My personal favorite is their football boxes that they sell. It's going to include 3 never-before-seen items for your school that you can't find anywhere else. Home field has items that are fit for any occasion as well. Any weather conditions, if it's 110 degrees outside or if it's in the 30s, you will always have high quality merchandise to stay supportive of your school. You can shop for your team at homefieldapparel.com using my promo code ASU24 to receive 15% off your first purchase. This is store wide, not just for ASU merchandise. Go to homefieldapparel.com today. Get the best licensed apparel out there. And again, use my promo code ASU24 and get 15% off of your order. Wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. You'll get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys for making us your first listen of the day. Let's go ahead and get back into this conversation now. And let's talk about some offense. We got some players to look at. And there's a lot of really important players that are coming up in this game for ASU. If we start with the offense, of course, it's Sam Leavitt. Now, there's not too much more to add than what we already talked about, which is that Sam Leavitt, you can win with him. You're starting to win because of him. Is this the game that proves that, Sam Leavitt is the reason you can win football games? And then there's other guys as well. We'll wait and see. Two guys I want to talk about on offense. Number one, Cam Skattebo. Again, same thing as what we previously talked about. The volume is always going to be there for him. We've seen games where he does not have very good, very good, not production, but efficiency with his carries and everything. He's had a game under this year with under 3 yards a carry. He's been held under 4 yards a carry this year, but he still gets the work done. Last week, he didn't get in the end zone, but it sure didn't stop him from getting over 100 scrimmage yards. Is he going to be able to take that production and make it more efficient again? It's not a big deal if he does or doesn't, but it's something worth monitoring. Jordyn Tyson is my other guy on offense. He might be the hottest receiver in college football right now. Over the last 5 games, Jordyn Tyson leads the nation in receiving yards. Yeah, the nation. He is going bananas right now. And he's dominating everyone that he's playing against. And it's at a point where everyone who's playing ASU knows where the ball is going. Tyson is getting well over 10 targets a game at this point, and no one can stop him. It's the last 5 games. We're going to go back to, is that 5? Yeah, we're going to go back to Utah. 5 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Cincinnati, 6 catches, 108 yards. That was without Sam Leavitt, by the way. Oklahoma State, 8 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. UCF, 7 catches, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kansas State, 12 catches, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is at 833 receiving yards on the season. I'm not saying he gets to 1,000 in this game, but I'm not telling you it's impossible. With the way he's playing right now, Tyson's in line to have one of the best single seasons of a Sun Devil receiver ever in the history of this program. I'm hoping he comes back next year, but man, he's on fire right now. Are you still going to be able to extend that streak? He's going to be a huge factor in whether or not Sam Leavitt is able to continue playing at an elite level, because he's the guy. If Jordyn Tyson is taken out of this game, how is Sam Leavitt going to look? Let's go to the defensive side of the football now. I'm cheating, and I'm looking at the linebackers. I do not know how it's going to shake out. Keyshawn Elliott has missed some time now with an injury. Caleb McCullough has stepped up. Jordan Crook's getting a lot more time. They're rotating these linebackers very, very well right now. There's not really one guy here that is like de facto linebacker 1. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think that is a bad thing at all for the Sun Devils. Whoever it is, whatever your lineup ends up looking like, whether Keyshawn Elliott is still out or if he's back in, whether Caleb McCullough is starting or if he's back in a reserve role, whoever it is, there is a very real chance that the linebackers, not the defensive line, not the corners, the linebackers will dictate the pace of this game. The reason why I say that is a lot of what BYU does is damage across the middle and damage in the intermediate parts of the field. They stretch the field, sure, no problem. That's not the biggest strength of their game. This is a chunk yards offense, which means that this is a linebacker core that's got a lot of pressure coming up against them. They need to be able to step up and take away those big plays. They need to be able to shut down this run game. And like we said, it's not just one guy. It's not like they have a Cam Skattebo back there or an RJ Harvey or anyone else. They got a bunch of different guys that they're going to give the football to. They have 2 running backs, 90 carries, 65 carries. They've got another one with 23. They got another one with 19. They got one with 18. They are moving the ball around to all sorts of different guys and getting all sorts of quality production from them. There's not a single guy you can key in on. So the linebackers are going to have to find a way to set the tone of the run game. There's also a chance that they could positively impact the passing game. The problem is they don't use a tight end like at all. Their leading tight end, 11 catches, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. He is 6th on the team in receiving yards. I do not expect we're going to see a lot of tight ends in this game. And that's even better if it's because ASU's defense is able to shut them down. One last guy I want to talk about, Shamari Simmons. MVP of the team last year. One of the best players for the Sun Devils once again this year. Number 4 in tackles with 56. He's got an interception. He's got 2 forced fumbles. He's as good as advertised. He is as good as he was last year. He might be playing even better this year. Last week was a huge week for him with a forced fumble and the game-sealing interception. He is, to me, the most consistent defender that ASU has had all year long. What do we have in store for BYU? Is it going to be another quality game? Is it going to be his best game of the year? Are we going to see him all over the place and just not stacking the box score, which we've seen throughout the year? Or is this going to be a box score stuffing game? We'll wait and see. All I know is between the linebackers and between Shamari Simmons, to me, this is where the game will be decided defensively for the Sun Devils. The better the linebackers play and the better Shamari Simmons plays, the better the opportunity is for ASU to walk away victorious here. This is a good game plan for me to roll out with these guys. Coming up next, and to wrap up the show, I got some bold predictions for you, and I got a final score coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me talk to you about our friends over at ZBiotics. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol, it's going to get converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for a rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember that ZBiotics should be your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, obviously. You'll feel at your best tomorrow. When I get together with all my buddies, whether it's a UFC party, whether it's just getting together for a football game, I love having my ZBiotic ready on me. Whether I have a couple of drinks or whether I'm there to have a good time. No matter what, when I take my ZBiotic the next day, I'm going to feel just fine. Like I said, make it your first drink of the night. You're going to have the best results that way. You still need to be able to pace yourself. You still need to hydrate and get a good night's sleep. And when you wake up tomorrow morning, you're going to feel refreshed and ready to take on the day. Go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege to learn more and get 15% off your order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee as well. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they're going to refund your money. No questions asked. Go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege. Use the promo code LockedOnCollege at checkout for 15% off. You didn't think we were going to get through this episode without talking about our friends at FanDuel, did you? Well, you're wrong. Get ready to tackle NFL action for the rest of the year with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers, you bet $5 you can get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Keep in mind, that can be on anything. That can be a money line. That can be a player prop. That can be a live bet. That can be a spread. Whatever you find, $5 and it wins, gets you 150. The best part is the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It gives you everything you need to be able to bet on the NFL all in one place. If you're getting a hunch in the middle of the game, you think you might be onto something, go to the app. Check out the latest stats. There's a live play-by-play and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bet so you can feel confident that you are going to hit on that $5 bet. When you visit FanDuel.com to join today, you get started with $150 in bonus bets. All you got to do is hit that first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. One last time, wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. You'll get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for making us your first listen of the day. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. All right, it's the best part of the show. We all know what it's time for. It's time to make some bold predictions. 2 on offense, 2 on defense. And then we got a final score. Let's get started. Bold prediction number 1, Sam Leavitt will have a career high in passing yards. This means at least 305. He passed for 304 against Oklahoma State. So I'm going all in. Career high in passing yards, 305 or more. And not just 1, not just 2, not just 3, but 4 touchdowns, ladies and gentlemen. I'll say they're all passing, but who knows? Maybe it's 1 passing and 3 rushing. Maybe it's all rushing. I don't know. All I know is Sam Leavitt's finding pay dirt 4 times in this game as he helps ASU to get to a win. Spoiler alert. Bold prediction number 2. Jordyn Tyson, yeah, he's going to be a big reason for that. He's going over the century mark again. He is getting in the end zone at least once. Tyson is probably the hottest receiver in football right now. I don't know how many teams have an answer for him. It is what it is. I got Tyson over 100, a touchdown in this game. Quite frankly, if Levitt has 4 touchdown passes, Tyson could have 3 of them, and I wouldn't be shocked. Defense, I got 2 more bold predictions for you there. Bold prediction number 1, the defense will not allow a play over 40 yards. This year, the Sun Devils defense, I've talked about this before. They have been described as bend, don't break. That is not the way this defense is. When I hear bend but don't break, what I hear is this defense gave up 400 or 500 yards, but hey, they were able to get off the field instead of allowing a touchdown, or, they only gave up a field goal. That's bend but don't break. That's not what the Sun Devils are. The Sun Devils are this. Hey, we just had a really bad drive. Next drive, we got to get off the field quick. We got to get a turnover, whatever. Next drive rolls around, boom, they force a punt. Boom, they get a turnover. That's the Sun Devils defense. Final drive of the game. Hey, we have a 1-possession lead. We need to make sure that team doesn't tie it. Boom, they shut them down. That is not bend but don't break. That is stepping up to the occasion. And I've said that a lot this week, and I will just continue to say it because it's different. That's not bend but don't break. This is a defense that understands what's in front of them, and they take care of business. Stepping up to the occasion. This is a BYU team that has had some big plays this year. They've had several plays go over 50 yards. They are not a huge, big play offense. This is a chunk yards offense. So I am trusting ASU to hold BYU in check for this game. That ASU can find a way to make sure that BYU doesn't have that big play that's going to get people excited. That's going to change the momentum and shift the tides in favor of the Cougars. Nope. Defense got this. Defense going to shut that stuff down. No exceptions. They got it. Final bold prediction. I am saying that the man, the myth, the legend, Shamari Simmons. Remember earlier I said, hey, is this going to be a quiet game in the box score? Is this going to be a big game? It is a big game in the box score for Mr. Shamari Simmons. I don't have anything specific here. I'll go ahead and say double-digit tackles. I won't say he leads the team in tackles because that's just Miles Rouser every single week. He's going to have a lot of tackles, and I'm giving him 2 turnovers. 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. I don't care. Simmons getting 2 turnovers in this game one way or another. He is going to be one of the biggest reasons that ASU gets a win. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, ASU is getting the win. 28-14 is my final. I would consider giving ASU even a little bit more points, but we can't kick field goals. We did get one last week. Shout out to Parker Lewis. Here's the thing, and there's no disrespect to BYU. They are slumping. They are really struggling to get into the end zone their last few games. Was talking to Drake Toll earlier this week on a crossover with Locked On Big 12. If you have not checked that one out, that came out on Tuesday. Go and check that episode out. I do not remember the specific stat, but it's like less than 20% of their last few drives, they can't get it into the end zone. And it's a big amount of drives. I don't want to misquote the stat, but it was a big stat. It was a big number. BYU's just not getting in the end zone right now. Conversely, ASU's defense, they're pretty stout. They do give up chunk yards. They give up touchdowns, sure. But this is an offense that I think ASU's defense can really take advantage of. Meanwhile, ASU's offense, I don't know who's stopping them. They are playing at such a high rate right now. They bullied K-State last week. K-State had one of the best defenses in the Big 12. Bullied them. If they kept their foot on the gas for a full 60 minutes, I think you win that game by 20 or more points. That game is a lot closer on the scoreboard than it was in reality. I don't think ASU is going to slow down against BYU in this game. I think they're going to score a lot of points. 28-14. I could give ASU more points, and I could give BYU less points. I'll stick with 28-14. What is your guys' final score? What are your bold predictions? What do you think Sam Leavitt is going to do? Let me know in the comments. You can always hit me up on Twitter at RichieBrats36 or the podcast at LO_SunDevils. I appreciate each and every single one of you for making Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications wherever you're getting your shows. And as always, a special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. We will be back again next week to recap ASU versus BYU, whether it is a win or a loss. We will be talking about the good and the bad from the game. We'll have some takeaways. If we win, we're handing out game balls. If we lose, we're talking about what they need to fix going into the final game of the regular season. That'll all be next week, and I'll see you there. Until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.